14, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for your patience.
You were worth waiting for.
Well, we'll find out. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Gopijana Vallabha Giravardhari Yashodanandana Vijayana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Giravardhari Yashodanandana Vajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Jayam Vishnupada Paramhamsa Paribrajacacharya Stottarashata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Jai Gaur Premanandi All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Does anybody have United Healthcare? Is there
You just signed out, started January.
the CEO of United Healthcare was just shot dead in Manhattan?
Oh my gosh.
So much for his
The one
health.
that didn't want to pay their cookies.
Yeah, right.
Oh. We had United Healthcare and then now we didn't take it.
Mhm.
And then now nobody takes Humana, so we went back. We're very happy to do this. United Healthcare.
Oh,
Somebody.
I should have put my water bottle on this flimsy.
Put it in the center,
Yeah.
not on the edge.
Yeah. No, this is it. Yeah, well, his health is finished. Yeah. Okay, and that ties in with today's class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
O my Lord, Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by Srila Prabhupada, Canto 4, Chapter 25, text number 14. Prakaro Pavanatala
Prakaro Pavanatala.
Varakair Akshatoranai
Harikar Akshatoranai.
Svarnaropya Yasai Sringai
Swarnarupya Yasai.
Sankulang Sarvato Grihai
Sankulam Sarvato Grihai.
Prakaro Pavanatala
Prakaro Pavanatala.
Varakair Akshatoranai
Harikar Akshatoranai.
Svarnaropya Yasai Sringai
Swarnarupya Yasai Sringai.
Sankulang Sarvato Grihai
Sankulam Sarvato Grihai.
Prakaro Pavanatala
Prakaro Pavanatala.
Parikair Akshatoranai
Harikar Akshatoranai.
Svarnaropya Yasai Sringai
Swarnarupya Yasai Sringai.
Sankulang Sarvato Grihai.
Sankulam Sarvato Grihai.
A lot of eyes in this. It's the object of the preposition. It's the ending that you use when the noun is an object of a preposition. So you're gonna see why. A lot of with and withins here. Word for word. Oh, excuse me. Go ahead.
Prakaro Pavanatala
Prakaro Pavanatala
Harikar Akshatoranai
Harikar Akshatoranai.
Swarnaropya Yasai Sringai
Swarnarupya Yasai Sringai.
Sankulam Sarvato Grihai
Sankulam Sarvato Grihai.
Prakaro Pavanatala,
Prakaro Pavanatala
Harikar Akshatoranai,
Harikar Akshatoranai
Swarnarupya Sringai,
Swarnaropya Yasai Sringai
Sankulam Sarvato Grihai,
Sankulam Sarvato Grihai
Prakaro Pavanatala.
Prakaro Pavanatala
Harikar Akshatoranai.
Harikar Akshatoranai
Swarnarupya Yasai.
Swarnaropya Yasai Sringai
Sankulam Sarvato Grihai.
Sankulam Sarvato Grihai
Prakaro Pavanatala.
Prakaro Pavanatala
Harikar Akshatoranai.
Harikar Akshatoranai
Swarnarupya Sringai.
Swarnaropya Yasai Sringai
Sankulam Sarvato Grihai.
Sankulam Sarvato Grihai
Word for word. Prakara,
Prakara.
walls.
Walls.
Upavana,
Upavana.
parks.
Parks.
Atala,
Atala.
towers.
Towers.
Harikai,
Harikai.
with trenches.
Trenches.
Aksha,
Aksha.
windows.
Windows.
Toranai,
Toranai.
with gates.
With gates.
Svarna,
Varna.
gold.
Gold.
Ropya,
Ropya.
silver.
Silver. Silver.
Ayasai,
Ayasai
made of iron.
Made of iron.
Shringai,
Sringai.
with domes,
with domes,
Sankulam,
Sankulam,
congested,
congested,
Sarvataha,
Sarvataha,
everywhere,
everywhere,
Grihai,
Grihai,
with houses.
with houses.
Translation. So this is, Narada Muni continuing to describe the city of nine gates, which is, the metaphorical body. Translation. That city was surrounded by walls and parks, and within it were towers, canals, windows, and outlets. The houses there were decorated with domes made of gold, silver, and iron. Please repeat. That city was surrounded
That city was surrounded
by walls and parks,
by walls and parks.
and within it
Within it
were towers, canals,
were towers, canals,
windows, and outlets.
windows, and outlets.
The houses there were decorated
The houses there were decorated
with domes
with domes
made of gold, silver, and iron.
made of gold, silver, and iron.
Now we'll find out more about what all that stands for. Purport, Srila Prabhupada's purport. The body is protected by walls of skin. The hairs on the body are compared to parks, and the highest parts of the body, like the nose and head, are compared to towers. The wrinkles and depressions on different parts of the body are compared to trenches or canals. The eyes are compared to windows, and the eyelids are compared to protective gates. The three types of metal, gold, silver, and iron, represent the three modes of material nature. Gold represents goodness, silver, passion, and iron, ignorance. This is the age of iron. The body is also sometimes considered to be a bag containing three elements, tridhatu, mucus, bile, and air, cup, pit, and vayu. Yes, yatma buddhi kunape tridhatuke. According to Bhagavatam 1084:13, one who considers this bag of mucus, bile, and air to be the self is considered no better than a cow or an ass. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshudharitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master is kindly opening my eyes. With the torch of knowledge, I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So now, Narada Muni, the previous verse, two before. Anyway, we're getting a closer look at the city of nine gates here. And who is Paranjan? Very good. I have seen the enemy, and the enemy is us. You know who said that? Pogo. Pogo was a comic strip character. My father knew the artist. His name was Walt Kelly. He was a friend of Walt Kelly's. And that was a famous line from Pogo. I've seen the enemy. And it became like famous all over. It got a wider audience. It took off, and it became a famous saying, because we tend to be our own worst enemies. Yes, so Paranjan is us, and literally in Sanskrit, what is it? What does Puranjana mean? One who is trying to enjoy the material body, the poor, the city of the body. We're trying to enjoy it. Actually, this is we're getting we're going to get a real good look at this whole city of the body metaphor in the course of Narada Muni's preaching to Barishat, who knew that Barishat couldn't take it straight, so he had to make some story up. At this point. But actually, the city of nine gates is also mentioned in the Gita. Does anybody know where it comes up in the Gita? Navadvare pare dehi. It's in the 5th chapter. City of nine gates. Yeah, it mentioned everything's in the Gita too, but it's in more, nutshell form. Everything's really elaborately described in Bhagavatam. Okay, so 5, I think it's 13. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so in the 13th verse, Krishna says, when the embodied living being controls his nature. So this is somebody who's in the city of nine gates, but it's good because he's controlling. He's not letting the dictates of the 10 senses. We're going to hear, we're going to hear all about Puranjan meets. He sees a beautiful woman and she represents the intelligence, but when the intelligence identifies with the body, then forget it. So Krishna says, when the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he's not slave to the actions of the senses. He resides happily in the city of nine gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. It's, Navadvare, that's in the place where there are nine gates, Pure Dehi. Yeah, in the city, Pure Dehi, the embodied soul. So in the Srila Prabhupada's purport, he talks about this, and he mentions the modes of nature as he did in today's purport. Purport, the embodied soul lives in the city of nine gates. So let's see if Tara Lakshmi can name the 9 gates in the body. Do you know? Huh? 2 eyes, 2 nose, that's 4. 1 mouth, 5 ears, 7. And you got to go south. Right, the rectum and the genital. The anus and the genital. Okay, good. The activities of the body or the figurative city of body. Prabhupada also maybe had Puranjan pastime in mind when he said, are conducted automatically by its particular modes of nature. Yeah, we're all born with different bodies according to our karma, and they're all different combinations of the elements under and awarded according to different combinations of the mode of nature. So we hear there are 400,000 species of human life. We can see a lot of them on this planet. I mean, everybody's got different bodies, and some are denser than others, some are more refined than others, some are, some are, and then people eat different things. This is all connected to the level of consciousness. 400,000 species means 400,000 levels of consciousness of human beings. Okay, so the soul, although subjecting himself to the conditions of the body, we've willfully done that. We've willfully chosen to live in a material body. That's Puranjan, as you said, we're all Puranjan. We can be beyond those conditions. Yeah. If we so desire, owing only to forgetfulness of one's superior nature, one identifies with the material body and therefore suffers. That's the first thing I ever heard Prabhupada say in person. Friday July 16th, 1971, at the Detroit Metro Airport, after he floated up the escalator and floated over to the Vyasasana, and after he took a sweet ball and washed it down with a goblet of a chalice of water and flicked a little crumb of sweet ball into his mouth with his tongue, then he said, the cause of all suffering is due to misidentification with the material body. And we'd heard that, I mean, a million times, maybe not a million times, but here we go. This? Yeah. Although we'd heard it, I mean, it's the first thing you hear, right? Practically. Because the way he said it was so full of realization. It's like, we all went, wow. It's like the first time we ever heard it. Far out. You know, we're not these bodies. Yeah, so how much realized we are will determine how much potency we have when we speak. By Krishna consciousness, he can revive his real position and thus come out of his embodiment. Therefore, when one takes to Krishna consciousness, one at once becomes completely aloof from bodily activities. So the proof of that, taking Srila Prabhupada again, he's on his bed of arrows, as we said, when he was on his disappearance bed, and he's completely, although his body is completely finished, diseased, he's down to like 60 pounds, skeletal. But what is he doing? He's dictating these very sophisticated purports to the 13th chapter of the 10th canto. Brahma steals the cows and cowherd boys. Yeah, and he can barely speak. You see the film, they had to put the mic up to his mouth. And he even had Pradyumna to do the translation and the word for word, and then Prabhupada spoke the purports. And he's speaking very softly, it's like a whisper. And then, but then what he's saying, when it was actually printed out, was like, whoa, this is so sophisticated. Talking about time on different planets, even cracking jokes about the four-headed scientists. And they think but Brahma, he can't even fathom what he's experiencing. How Krishna replaced, the little cowherd boy replaced all the cows and cowherd boys with himself. So Prabhupada showed how he was completely aloof from his dying body. In such a controlled life in which his deliberations are changed, his deliberations are changed. So in other words, we're no longer thinking, feeling, and willing in terms of trying to enjoy the gross body and the subtle mind. The deliberations are changed. We're thinking of how to think, feel, and will in Krishna service. That's the complete mature consciousness of the pure devotee. His deliberations are changed. He lives happily within the city of 9 gates because he doesn't identify with matter, which is always letting us down, right? The 9 gates are mentioned as follows. Now here's what I just asked Taralakshi. This is a verse, actually. Svetashvatara Upanishad. Navadvare paredehi hangso lelayate bahi. Vashi sarvasya lokasya stavarasya charasya cha. Quote, this is from Shvetashvatara Upanishad, one of the Sattvik Upanishads. Quote, the Supreme Personality of God who was living within the body of a living entity is the controller of all living entities all over the universe. So Krishna's there too. The body consists of 9 gates, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, 1 mouth, the anus, and the genitals. The living entity in his conditioned stage identifies himself with the body. But when he identifies himself with the Lord within himself, he becomes just as free as the Lord, even while in the body. That doesn't mean the body doesn't die. Obviously, Prabhupada's activities were restricted, were limited, but he didn't identify with that. So he was free. His consciousness was free, even though the body was collapsing all around him. Okay, so, I just wanted to reference the Gita because that's where we find out about the city of nine gates, right in our basic text. Now, what am I doing? So in the purport, Prabhupada makes this passing reference to a famous verse in the Bhagavatam. According to Bhagavatam 1084:13, one who considers the bag of mucus, bile, and air to be the self is considered to be no better than a cow or an ass. One of those rare occasions where the cow appears to be criticized, no better than a cow. Usually we talk about how glorious cows are, and they are glorious. But after all, they're not in human bodies, and therefore they can't ask, who am I? Why am I suffering? And so what happens, 1084:13, the context of this is that everybody's gone to Kurukshetra, and because they heard Krishna's going to be there for the solar eclipse. And so all these sages come and saints come, and they want to see Krishna. But when Krishna gets there, what does he do? He says, because then Krishna sees, he sees all these sages that have come to see him. So he says, okay. After the sages were comfortably seated, the Supreme Lord Krishna, whose transcendental body protects religious principles, addressed the sages in the midst of that great assembly. Everyone listened silently with rapt attention. Okay, now Krishna is going to speak. So they've come to see Krishna, but now here's what Krishna says. The Supreme Lord said, "Now our lives are indeed successful, for we have obtained life's ultimate goal, the audience of great yoga masters, which even demigods only rarely obtain." And then Krishna goes on and says, "How is it that people who are not very austere and who recognize God only in his deity form in the temple can now see you, touch you, inquire from you, bow down to you, worship your feet, and serve you in other ways?" And then he goes on to say, "Mere bodies of water are not the real sacred places of pilgrimage, nor are mere images of earth and stone the true worshipable deities. These purify one only after a long time. But saintly sages purify one immediately upon being seen." So Krishna is really, he's saying it's better than bathing in holy rivers. It's better than even seeing deities, because you can just by seeing, and so many people, they had that experience in Prabhupada's presence. I'm watching the memories, and so many times the devotees were saying, as soon as I saw Prabhupada, wow, because even though I didn't even know anything, I was just somebody brand new that just happened to walk. I can see this is a person not from this world. He's carrying the spiritual world with him. Yeah. And then Krishna says, "Neither the demigods controlling fire, the sun, the moon, and the stars, nor those in charge of earth, water, ether, air, speech, and mind actually remove the sins of their worshipers." Talking about great devas who are in charge of all these departments in the universe, who continue to see in terms of, they can't purify their worshipers. Demigods can't purify their worshipers, who continue to see in terms of dualities. So he's putting the demigods in their place. But wise sages destroy one's sins when respectfully served for even a few moments. Lavamatra, right? And now here's the famous verse. Yes, Yatma Buddhi Kunape Tridatuke Svadhikalatra. Prabhupada only quoted the first line. Svadhikalatra Dishu Bhoma Ijjadhi Yatirtha Buddhi Ksalilena Karhichij Janeshva Bhigeshva Svaeva Gokaraha. Which means, Krishna says, one who identifies his self as the inert body, it's just an inert body, it's just a dead body until it's animated by the spirit, right? As the one who identifies his self as the inert body composed of mucus, bile, and air, who assumes his wife and family are permanently his own. Who thinks an earthen image or the land of his birth is worshipable, all from Kusha, or who sees a place of pilgrimage as merely the water there, but who never identifies himself with, feels kinship with, worships, or even visits those who are wise in spiritual truth, such a person is no better than a cow or an ass. That's Krishna. I had forgotten that Krishna said this verse. This is okay. Now Prabhupada's purport here. True intelligence is shown by one's freedom from false identification of the self. That's freedom. That's freedom from false identification. As stated in the Brihaspati Samhita, Agyata Bhagavad Dharma Mantra Vijnana Samvidaha Naraste Gokara Gyeya Apipu Palavanditaha. Quote, men who do not know the principles of devotional service to the Supreme Lord should be known as cows and asses, even if they are expert in technically analyzing Vedic mantras and are adored by world leaders. Sounds like the wives of the, or it sounds like the yogic Brahmins, right? Who later, I forget if that already happened. Anyway, an imperfect Vaishnava, unquote. And then the servants of Srila Prabhupada comment further. An imperfect Vaishnava advancing toward the second-class platform identifies himself with the sages who have established the true spiritual path, even while he still may have some inferior material attachments to body. So that's our situation. We're sadhakas, so we're trying to come to the second class, and we still have attachments, but we're going in the right direction. Some inferior material attachments to body, family, and so on. Such a devotee of the Lord is not a foolish cow or stubborn ass, like the majority of materialists, but most excellent is, now we're going to go to a higher level of Vaishnava, but most excellent is the Vaishnava who has gained the special mercy of the Lord and broken free from the bondage of illusory attachments altogether. Yeah. And then the purport ends with this. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, the words Bhauma Ijjadi, quote, who thinks an image made of earth is worshipable, refers not to the deity form of the Supreme Lord in his temple, but to deities of demigods. That's consistent with what Krishna said, that even the demigods can't free their worshippers. But to deities of demigods, and the words, yet tirtha buddhik salile, quote, who sees a place of pilgrimage as merely the water there, refer not to sacred rivers like the Ganga or Jamuna, but to lesser rivers. Okay. So, yeah, the sacred rivers can purify. Yeah, but still, the holy, pure devotees, they can purify even quicker. Because we get woken up by their words. All right, now this ties in with, as I mentioned, I hear Prabhupada when I'm doing my morning ablutions, So today's recording was Prabhupada's in Caracas in February 22nd, 1975. And he's talking with a doctor. And the doctor has come to hear from Prabhupada. And Prabhupada just starts talking about the difference between the soul and the body, just like the body's like a car and the soul is like the driver, or the passenger, actually. And Hridayananda Maharaj is translating into Spanish, stop and go translation. And so after a few minutes of this, of Prabhupada explaining the basics, the man says in Spanish, and then Hridayananda Maharaj translates, he says, Srila Prabhupada, that he's not really interested in this line of speech. He's not really interested in what you're saying. He's not really interested in philosophy, He's interested in how we can help people psychologically. Because apparently he's some kind of psychologist. That's the kind of the doctor is. He's some kind of psychotherapist or something like that. And so then Prabhupada says, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Unless and until you understand, people understand that they're not the body. The reason there's madness in the world, the reason people are mad is because they madly identify with the body. And as soon as you identify with the body and all its troubles, because life is tough and there's happiness and distress and nothing lasts, then of course you're going to be disturbed. And this is why individuals are disturbed, is because of too much identification with the gross body and the subtle mind. And this is why the world's disturbed, because everybody's thinking, I'm American and you're whatever, you're Russian, and Prabhupada goes through the whole thing. What is it? I'm Israeli and you're Palestinian. Yeah, I'm Russian, you're Ukrainian. This is... But the guy keeps objecting. Keeps going. And this went on. Let's see, how long was the tape? The tape was about 75 minutes. Yeah. So, and so the guy keeps objecting, but Prabhupada knows that the guy's got to get it. He's got to get it. That, because the guy's thinking, but if you don't, he's misunderstanding Prabhupada. And that he even, Hridayananda Maharaj says, he thinks you're misunderstanding him, Prabhupada, because he understands. He's a good Catholic, and so he knows this. He's a soul, and there's God, but still, we have to take care of the body, and we have to take care of our mind. And Prabhupada says, yes, that's right. That's not. We do that too. We do that too. We take care of just because we're devotees of Krishna doesn't mean we don't take care of the body, and doesn't mean we don't, have mental health. It's important that we all have good mental health too. But then Prabhupada said, but what's more important? Going back to the analogy of the passenger and the car, what's more important, the car or the passenger? Without the passenger, then the car doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't. Unless somebody turns the key and starts the car, then the car is just matter, inert matter. It says, Prabhupada says. But then the guy still thinks that Prabhupada's, no, but you're not. It's because he's a doctor and he wants to help people's, bodies and minds and like that. So Prabhupada said, that is admitted. He keeps going, that's admitted. What's more important? And then he keeps, and finally the guy gets it. He said, it's true that unless there's a soul in the body, because Prabhupada said, without the soul being, you say you believe in the soul, Prabhupada said, then you know without the soul being in the body, what is the body? And what's this so-called mind? What's this, or brain, because the guy thinks the mind is the brain. It's null and void. It's just a dead body. And the parts are all there, and the whole thing of you can't replace the soul. So then he said, yes, that's true. When someone dies, something leaves. The essence is gone. Okay. So Whoop. Okay, so what we're going to do in the rest of the chapters, we're going to be finding out a lot about all the different, what this means, what the windows are, and we're going to, Puranjan's going to see this beautiful lady, and who are you? And he's going to chat her up, but she turns out to be the intelligence, because she also is she's representing material intelligence, and what does material intelligence do? It is schemes of how to satisfy the desires of the mind. And the mind's never satisfied. Just like in the previous verse, just like people are never satisfied, they go here and there, and they're never satisfied, because matter can never satisfy spirit. Okay, I will read the verse again if you have any questions or comments. That city was surrounded by walls and parks, airs, and within it were towers. A lot of these gates are in the head, right? All this knowledge acquiring senses. And the working senses tend to be, the arms and the legs. The city was surrounded by walls and parks, and within it were towers, canals, windows, and outlets. The houses there were decorated with domes made of gold, silver, and iron. So depending on the modes of nature we inherit by our karma, it's different combinations of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Therefore different levels of consciousness manifesting through the gross body and the subtle mind. Yes?
So we're studying this allegory, but some bogus commentators of Bhagavad Gita say that the Bhagavad Gita is a allegory, and that this Pandavas are the five senses, and the Kurukshetra is the body. Do you think they say that because of verses like that you read there, where Prabhupada talks about a little bit about this senses, or how do they come to that conclusion?
Well, you know who said that? And that's Gandhi.
Right.
That's basically Gandhi. That was he had his own take on the Gita, because Gandhi infamously said, how do we know that someone as Krishna even ever existed? He didn't even believe that Krishna was a real person, because he wanted to use the Gita to put forth his own philosophy of non-violence on the eve of a battle. Therefore, he had to make the whole battle and all the participants, like the Pandavas, as metaphors. This represents this. The Pandavas are the senses, and Kurukshetra is the field. And well, this is the only place in the Gita where, in 5.13, it was the only place where the city of nine gates is mentioned like that. I don't know. I don't know the mind of Gandhi. I don't know how. Yes.
So I have two questions. I guess the first one I have is, you're mentioning about people are no better than a cow or an ass, if they're, going to bodies water and just seeing them as
It is bathed, but I don't hear.
Yeah. And so on and so forth. And so that just sort of made me think about people that I guess I'll just name names. It reminds me of Joe. Joe, he comes here, he really doesn't have much interest at all in what we're doing here, but he does so much seva. And so like, how does that work out? You know, because he's built, you know, parts of our altar. He's built the Vyasa Sun for Prabhupada. I mean, like, he's done so much seva, but at the same time, he's like,
He doesn't come to Bhagavatam class.
you know, his heart isn't, you know, necessarily, you know, where one would think it should be for doing that kind of seva, you know. So
The cow, right? Not the ass. You feed the cow.
yeah, maybe, I don't know, yeah.
Yeah. So much.
Well, Joe is, you know, believe it or not, Joe once asked me when I was still carrying the stamp, the guru stamp. I since turned in my badge. He said, "Hey, Rich, are you a guru?" And then he wanted to know the difference between a guru and a swami.
Mhm.
He actually asked this.
Sure,
So he, you know, he might deny.
yeah.
If you ask him, he will say, "I'm not a devotee," right?
Yeah, but I mean, asking what the specifics are of roles is a lot different than having a belief in Krishna, you know, and so,
Anyway,
One
Chris
could ask-
Chris has got him just where,
yeah,
you know, he is coming to Krishna,
yeah.
whether he knows it or not, or will admit it or not. I think he does. Some part of him, like what do you say, Sundamini, when I only work for the little guy? He's not, I mean, he is doing jobs outside, or is he? You know,
Just for his girlfriends.
just for, okay. So he's on the path, you know, he's, like I said in the purport, he's got some attachments,
Yeah,
not completely ripe yet.
Wouldn't that be kind of Varnashram, that he's obviously a Sudra, but he's working for the Brahmins and for the other.
Definitely.
that's what I was
He's
thinking.
Gita 12:10.
Yeah,
Those who don't follow the regulations, rules and regulations of
Just work.
Bhakti Yoga, just try to work for me.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say too.
And in that purport, Prabhupada mentions types who are the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras.
Wasn't George Harrison said that everybody's a devotee, but some know it and some don't?
Oh, that was in the introduction to
Right. Introduction to Krishna.
preface.
Joe is a very interesting person. He's got a lot of money, but he's very renounced. He's an artist. He loves what he's doing, and you know, he has respect for the devotees, some of them. And he's just set in his ways, you know, he drinks coffee and smokes his whatever
Yeah.
that is. But yeah, he's on the path. He's totally on the path. He's,
I mean, look at that whole.
everything. I mean,
Yes,
everything.
Look at the closet. Look at
Oh, he's built everything.
that is the
And
Joe's
that's-
essence. That's his bhakti.
Right. That's his bhakti. Exactly. Yeah.
And he is attached to his servants.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
very attached to his.
And now we're going to hear from Sarah.
I was going to add that in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that 4 types of people, they come to me. There we go.
Yeah,
He's one of them.
right.
So he's not an ass or a cow. So he's doing a lot of
Yeah, he's
seva.
coming in.
And-
He could be one.
And then they gave a lot of credit to the people that they do seva.
And he built this too. I mean, he's like built this temple.
Yeah.
And that's his
Look at the doors.
satisfaction.
Look at the doors.
I know, he's done everything. Yeah, and that's his satisfaction, that's his service.
Isn't that seat that George is sitting on built by Joe?
Yeah.
That too.
No, he's done everything. Yeah.
Jai, all glories to Srimad
I
Joe.
want to say something, please. Don't forget the first way.
So, as a devotee, I talk to myself, all of us, we have to be careful to not be like in the Bible, the Pharisees. The Pharisees used to think they are holy, they say too. There was criticize this prostitute. And Jesus Christ said, the one who never sinned to the first, to the first work. So we have to be careful, sometimes Krishna sends some people, among us, and we thinking, oh, it's a shooter, me, I'm a devotee. But are we acting really as a devotee? My guru used to say that. My guru used to say, when I come, all of you dancing, oh, good, but what you was doing before and after. So actually, we should looking at everyone, sorry, like Joe is, we don't know who is he. We don't know what kind of soul is he. We're looking only by the outside. We're looking at his smoking, but we don't see because there was some Vaishnavis to smoke too, like for example,
George smoked his whole life.
that's why. So we have to be careful.
Right, that's what killed him.
And I talk about myself because I always think about myself better than anyone. So when I talk like that, I don't talk about, I don't point finger at others, point finger at me. So we have to be very careful. That's how we can advance in Christian consciousness, by not being inconsiderate towards others.
Thank you very much. Judge not, lest you be judged. Okay.
Thank you.
Jai, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Joe built the altar in my room. Every day I look at that and I just think,